All right, here we go again. Buckle up. Roads look like they're going to get rougher. Who's this over here? Oh, my neighbor. Thank you, Larry. I don't know if they were screwing with him or he part of it. He got really weird when he came out of his apartment a couple times when he saw me outside. I was just hosing off the sidewalk or something like that. I don't know if he's part of it or they were just freaking him out. But again, it looked like it was designed to freak me out. Right. So it looks like, again, last year it looked the same way and it didn't happen, but it looks like we're in for an early, I wouldn't say necessarily spring, but it looks like it's going to warm up pretty nice. We have A projectionist, it's very simple. Correct, Larry. And the further they put you to sleep, the worse they get, because the more they think they're going to get away with it. Yeah, like McCabe and Mudd acting like we're messing with them. That's the position they take while they're actually destroying your life for 10 years. Like, how dare you say anything about what we're doing to you? I mean, these are people who are going to go to hell, man. They're devils. They send people out to torture U.S. citizens all day long. Laugh about it. So my brother and I had an interesting experience. I brought this up before, that I think they may have been trying to kill me because Trump was getting back into office and was elevating my life. So they crashed it in the hopes that it wouldn't elevate. Well, today, my brother went to a doctor, got all the information about his back that he could ever use. I, all of a sudden, figured out how to fix my sinuses. And figured out, hey, you don't have COVID. So the day before the inauguration, which means Trump's incoming power is starting to move from the future, I find out I don't have COVID anymore. Meanwhile, I'm walking around thinking, oh, it must have looped around on me. I got COVID again. So I get my mind, and I'm like, well, take a COVID test. Take a COVID test, no COVID. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have COVID. Then I take another COVID test about an hour later. I don't have COVID. And I'd already taken the allergy medicine, which I was able to get to the allergy medicine. And then somewhere in the middle of the night, it completely went away. I was almost afraid to get out of bed. Like, maybe it's because I'm laying here. As soon as I move, it's going to return. But it never really did. I had a slight bit, but of course, it takes allergy medicine like 3 or 4 days. If you take allergy medicine before the allergy attack, it's almost instant that it starts affecting like a day. But if you take it after the allergy attack, it could take up to 7 days, to 2 weeks to actually get rid of the allergy attack. But this one, I'm in probably just maybe about 36 hours. Right. And I was able to pretty much annihilate it. Another day of the medicine, I should feel better. And then it gets warmer. I'll feel even better. I can't wait till it warms back up. Those 2 warm days, I started feeling fine. And I think it was because the COVID was gone. Right. But then all of a sudden I got sick again. I'm like, oh shit, it must have looped back around on me. But it wasn't. It was this. So I had a female doctor that said to me, she goes, okay, I think you had 2 separate things. I think you just came down with COVID. And she's the one that prescribed the, what's it called? Paxlovid? Right. She says, I think you actually just came down with this. So in reality, I probably had COVID for like a week. And the majority of the really bad symptoms was the allergy. Like I had a fever, a sore throat was minimal. Right. But this thing kept cranked in. Now, the idea is this. If President Trump wasn't coming in, I may never have gotten to my allergy medicine yet. Because 7 days ago or so, I tried to order allergy medicine, and it never came in. But I couldn't just turn around and order it again. So whoever was stalking me had willed it down. So again, these people are wholly evil. They're a devil day in and day out. So Rich Snyder in the government. Like, I didn't know anything. I know Rich told me he grew up in the Brethren Church, and he wasn't a very religious man. He had an ethic, somewhat of a, central Pennsylvania ethic, which was, Christian based probably. And again, we're sinners saved by grace, so things could happen in either one of our lives or anyone else's lives. He told me Rick Henry was a devil. He said, that man is a devil. And I'm thinking, doesn't mean anything to me because I'm still asleep, but I didn't say it, because I couldn't think it. But he actually told me that Rick Henry was a devil. He knew Rick Henry was a devil. A real devil. Because you don't say that about somebody unless now I know. Nobody speaks like that unless the person's really a devil. This is one of the men that's ruined my life. Tortured me all those years. Paid people to torture me. He's a devil. But you're Republican, conservative, right? If I had been awake, I maybe could have defended myself. Right. And they pick on people that are asleep. That's the way a devil is. Got to remember to use my mouthwash. So again, you all want me to leave. Fair is fair. I don't really want to stay. I've been damaged too much by all of you. Figure out how you're going to pay me. Pay me and I'll move on. I'll put in for some of those contests for those cars and stuff, but I don't have a whole bunch of money to spend. I might spend about, at most like, $25 on 4 contests. You get me, I know how it works. You get me one of those vehicles, I'll turn it into cash and I'll get out of here. Thank you, George. I don't want to be around you anymore. You want me here. Again, you don't like the light, and I realize that. You're all fake Christians. I realize that. Fake Jews and whatever else you are. So what happens is, whenever I go to a church, they would have a setup. They weren't testing me. It was a setup. So what they're doing is they're telling everybody else that I'm persona non grata. And they get me when they can. Right. You think God's going to put up with that, all of you? You think you're all going to heaven and not hell? All right, what you need to do is get with the VA, like I said also. Go back through the files, find those people with Desert Storm Syndrome, and fix it. Say there's an error, you got 100% disability from this date on, and then pay us. You don't have to do it. But again, God will get you. There's no doubt that they paid the doctor that sat on my case something. When I went in there, he tried to force me to say his words. I mean, it was totally abusive in Oklahoma. No, you didn't have this, you have this. There's no way to do it, I'm telling you. There's no way for a person like me to work through that system to get my disability. In fact, some billionaire will probably pay him $1 million to throw it. Send one of his supposed protection detail people, one of his bodyguards, as an investigator. They paid more money destroying my life than they would have had let me earn on my own for nothing to ever been said. Right. Marshal Service spent government money, man, destroying my life. FBI spent government money. They should be in prison for it. Facebook spent money. Twitter spent money. Remember, you might be too big on this planet to rule, but you're all going to hell. No way out. No, you can't break free of it. Again, it's abusive. I didn't really get to that thought. I mean, I've said it, but until I sat there with my therapist, and she didn't say anything. She just took copious notes. And I'd apologize for putting her into something like that. But I felt like I couldn't tell her part of it without explaining all of it. And of course, I didn't explain all of it. But when I got finished with it, I got the thought that I've been abused. Absolutely abused the entire time. And like I said, I knew the case was worth $1 billion. Because I look at what happens to these other people in 1 year, 10 years maybe. And they turn around and they got $20 million. Or even like the woman with Giuliani. People would put into killing me. If they could have manipulated him to do it, they would have did it. Right. They know what they're doing. It's psychological warfare, a psychological operation. You have people that were trained in psychological operation in positions they're not supposed to be in. They're psychotic, man. They're narcissists. They just want to make the other person wrong. I'm not here to accept this, all of you. I'm here to destroy you. But we can come to an agreement. As I tried to get you to come to an agreement just to let me live my life and keep my health before. Well, you haven't let me keep my health. Need to backdate. You interfered. When Trump was president, somebody interfered with my disability. It's obvious. If Trump's president, I should have my disability. Right? You go through the files. You say there was an incorrect finding. I mean, come on. There's people out there with businesses. They obviously have no psychological issue on psychological retirements. Out there running like Black Rifle Coffee and shit like that while drawing a disability check 100%. Not to say they are. So you find my file. You backdate. I can't go through the system. I can already see it. They'll be laughing. It'll be a waste of time. You have to personally go to my file and do that. There's no way that I'm going to get an appeal through. In fact, they kept me from going to doctors for 3 years by torturing me around the thought and the looking up of doctors and being around doctors. That's what your cops do all day. So you go to the VA, you find my file, you send me the letter, and you put the money into my account. And that's it. That's simple. Unless you want God to do something different. I'm trying to figure out where the phone call came in from Patel, trying to see if they were trying to do some psychological operation. Put Kash Patel in. I'm serious. Thank you, friend. Again, he's a nominee for FBI director. Are they trying to put him in some negative way so I get angry at him? Who are they? Why are they doing it? It's obviously criminal. They should have, again, what I'm telling you, you need to find these people and make sure they're not in position to have professional contact with members of the public. If they're a director of an agency, a department, A private investigative firm, they need to be removed and incarcerated, but at least remove them so they do no more harm.
Correct.
And in fact, you should have done that 10, 20 years ago. If they have a license, you pull the license. If their license is a police officer, pull the license. License at a PI, pull the license.
Thank you, Larry.
It's obvious that I'm not crazy like they're trying to pretend. It's obvious I am tortured like I am telling you. And they are torturing me as I am telling you. So you're going to stalk a disabled person, a combat veteran disabled person, that's also a disabled law enforcement officer, with all the things you stalk me with. And that's just an investigative process? What are you investigating? The $1 million you're going to get paid for doing it? I would say Facebook owes me $1 million bucks at a minimum. I just can't tell you how much they did. I don't know if there were any of the on the foot people, but they definitely used digital tunnels to harass me on Facebook. When they did it, it felt like there was direct energy being used along with it. We're just going to keep going on with you. When you make a life that has no win, no success, then there's no loss, is there?
Right.
They aren't using any carrot and a stick. No, they had already beat me down in the Marshal Service. I pretty much just woke up a little bit. I would have never have thought to say anything to a therapist about it.
100%.
That's like at least 25, 30 years. How many other people they did to it? Well, look at the suicides. They're all the people they did it to. And then some. They think it's funny, man. But Mick Liberty thinks it's funny that he did this to my life. Ha ha, right? You're going to hell, Mick Liberty. Going straight to hell. I mean, the people that live spoon-fed lives, man. Good-looking people. Having the party of life the whole time. And this is all they can do all day? With their buddy McCabe and their buddy Comey? The hardest working deputy you're ever going to meet. They're going to psychologically destroy him. Because they just pieces of shit. Taking a murder contract from a pedophile or something like that. That's the part they don't want to tell you, that they're taking side job contracts. They try to act like it's just some sort of personal dispute. There's no doubt Facebook owes me $1 million. No doubt. There's damage from everything they've done. Oh, I could just not get on the platform? Well, where does that come from? How about you don't get on the platform? How about God takes your shit and destroys it? Or God's friend, Mr. Putin. I'm not Putin's best friend, but he's been treated poorly. I don't know if he could have had any other type of psychology in his life. Again, that's one of the intriguing things of the whole thing about salvation and forgiveness. If you psychologically tortured Mr. Putin, even though he has money, and you distorted his mind, then he's not responsible for what he did if he even killed you. Remember, these are some of the people that did this to me. People in the CIA that want to have $1 trillion contract somewhere so they can steal $100 billion from it. Or is that $1 trillion? I don't know. How much is that? That's what's going on. If we don't have that war, then they can't embezzle. They take it personal. That when you try to bring peace, you're taking their money away. Again, the military-industrial complex is only one part of it. They're the ones that actually receive the legitimate money. There's a bunch of embezzled money. So again, who's focusing you on the military-industrial complex? Where's that actually coming? I've told that to RFK a couple times, I think. Who's focusing you on what? You got to be careful because the CIA will focus you on the boogeyman. So is it the military-industrial complex, or is it the CIA and the government employees embezzling from those budgets? Or making deals for some kickback? Okay, and I want to tell you this, and always listen to this and remember this, because it's set up to a certain degree, unless you unset up it. If you, and you will, pardon, and he may have already done it, January 6th, you have to find a way to say, we move on. There's no reason for us to be this ever again. And the way to do it is say, we're going to change the world so we don't ever have to be that again. So let's not ever be it again and move forward in a different posture. Right. Otherwise, if there's recidivism, it'll fall back on the administration. And it could actually end up causing some court case down the road. So it's legal advice. Well, because you know what 2 years are going to bring. They could actually cause recidivism and then try to put it back on the administration. So like CIA could try to cause recidivism. Thank you, Larry. Or some other crony. Oh, it's pretty cold in here, darn it. Trying to figure out why this was happening. Let me put that on, see if that works. I'll have to take some cough medicines. Not quite, like I said, it takes a few days for the allergy medicine to reach its peak. I haven't had cough medicine since before bed last night, so I'm fine. And it was a very, safe dust, it's not that strong. But I might need another dose. Now, it only lasts like 4 hours. So I'm still good. It's just. Yeah, I think it's the cold. It's cold. I let it get cold in here. Right. So the sinuses are starting to kick. That's what causes them to start to secrete. Right. It's 66 degrees in the front room, and I think it's like 71 in my bedroom. I can't like level it off. I was 69 in here. And then if I put the other air thing on, then it blows dust and all that, and I didn't really want that. But again, there's tons of ways to pay me. And I guarantee you that I should have received 100% disability VA the last go round. The first time I put in for Persian Gulf syndrome was after my body failed in Naples the first time. And what happened was they lost all that paperwork. And she said, "There's no request for Persian Gulf syndrome." That was the bulk of it. Oh my God. And of course they're chasing me around, right? So I never could get back to it till 2017. And it didn't have it wasn't in my records. All that hospitalization, hospital stuff at the Cleveland Clinic Hospital in Naples, and at Naples Hospital, and all the orthopedic people, not surgeons, but not orthopedic, pain management, and all the other stuff. Gave the guy all these records. The county representative. See, their scam was that I would get like a small raise, like $100, $150 for something that I put in for. But the 100% disability claim they destroyed. And by the second time I put in, it was all deep state by that point. But again, there's no way for me to redo everything that I've done to try to get my disability up. In fact, they interfered. It was obvious that the doctor was a setup.
Thank you, Larry.
There's no way for me to recreate what needs to be recreated. You go back through the records. You observe that there was a mistake made. You backdate it to that date. I couldn't, part of them blocking me from health care is I can't create that record for disability payments either.
100%.
It's psychological torture. Your officers chasing me around and doing that bullshit to me, and they've done it every place I've lived. That's part of what it's designed to do. They tell you to attack when I'm trying to seek health care. And your fire companies and everything else. They're using sirens to psychologically torture people and then tell people that they're just crazy, that it's just happening. Again, like I told you, Rich Snyder proved to me, without knowing it, that you are knowingly torturing people with sirens. I was sitting there thinking, whoa, Rich is, without even knowing what speaking out was, but Rich is speaking out about it. I remember plain as day, I'm sitting there, and we were there for a verdict on some huge FBI case, violent case. Everybody had to be there in the office, even the fugitive squad, everybody. And I was sitting at my desk, and the siren's going, and it started getting to me a little bit. I'm like, It was around that time that I was dating Angie and all that, and they did it to her and everything. And Angie's the other person that showed me that it's real. Right. Yeah, they run in code to psychologically torture people. It's like a Gitmo thing. But of course, they're the big Gitmo people, and we're the questionable people. Bullshit. I'm the only loyal American I ever met in my life, to tell you the truth. The rest of you sell out for anything. The rich was like freaking out at the ambulance. I'm like, oh shit. And again, nobody talked about it, so I'm sure somebody else was there going, "Oh, where's the rich? Where's the rich go?" And it may have been that too. It may have just been stuck in traffic, but it sounded like to me he was doing laps around the courthouse, and they were psychologically torturing us at that point.
Oh my God.
It sounded like he was driving around the block constantly. That's kind of shit they would do. Again, like I told you, over in Oklahoma, they took like when I wasn't out driving around. So what they do is they'll do shit to you while you're out, and then if you start staying in your apartment or staying in your hotel room, they'll come around you locally. They're trying to get suicidal. They're trying to force somebody to commit suicide. Biggest piece of shit you want to know. Every last one of them should end in hell today and not have another day of life. That's just the way life should be, all of you. Again, you want to talk about Bible? They'd have killed you all before you were like 20 just to get rid of you. Pieces of shit that you are. So if you're a cop out there and you got another cop doing it, you might want to accidentally do something. So what they do is they were driving up and down the highway, but like exit to exit, like maybe a mile at the most, maybe less. Well, the siren kept going different directions, back and forth, for like an hour and a half. It was not like they'll say, "Oh, that was an accident" or something like that, but it wasn't. Because when I said something, it stopped. Right. The psychological torture. Now they'll say they're investigating someone else, but it's bullshit. So I wasn't out driving around healing the community. They were driving around that, trying to do a siren thing to me. Just like they did when I was at the Walmart up on 7th. They came out and then they launched the fire trucks. It's Gitmo, man. It's Gitmo type shit. They're sickos. They can't stop themselves. They need to be stopped. Well, yeah, hey, it's the military industrial complex. It isn't Gitmo and the CIA. No, it's not. They're not embezzling. No, they're not. Take a little bit of embezzle fund, sprinkle it on the fire company, and do what we want. They're firestoned. That's what happened in this country, man. No little thing. Trump doesn't even Trump, Kash Patel. They don't even begin to know what they're up against. I've been tortured by those pieces of shit for 30 years, where they call themselves Bush, Clinton, or anything else. But again, the presidents generally are just ignorant figureheads. They're led around by the nose by embezzlers in the CIA. So when they embezzle the money from the war funds or get their kickbacks, they come here to Overland Park and pay the fire department and the police department to one of their people, like a side job. Or send a couple cues on what stock to invest in, and then when they get everybody invests in it on a certain day, and then they all put it up. So again, like the Pelosi thing, that's really small fry compared to what they do. They're actually running a network, a criminal network of insider trading information. So yeah, Bannon's right. We got to watch. I mean, Elon could be CIA, but he might not be. I mean, I don't know. Just again, Elon has to understand is the way we have to speak, and he's a good person to use as an example. I think they're killing him though. The other day he was like, "What's wrong with you, Elon?" It might mean that the CIA is trying to kill him too, right? I don't know, because he was sitting there, he's trying to talk. He's like, No, that's the effects of psychological torture. I've seen the effects of psychological torture in Elon. I just don't know. He might be self-medicating because of it. He may not know either. I don't know. Well, it works like this. All right, Elon does what they want. They take him up. At a certain point, Elon says, I don't want to do what they want. And then they try to kill him. Pretty much it. Now, he tried to pretend that's what my life was. Like, they even tried, I understand one of the psychic blips I received, if they tried to say that they gave me the house. And when they gave me the house, I didn't do what they wanted. They didn't give me the house. I had to fight for it. They were blocking me. I believe it was because my wife was Asian and I was Caucasian, a mixed marriage. And we were trying to get a house, and it just seemed like we were having pushback. 100%. No, the deep state didn't give me ever anything. They don't listen to their bullshit. It's like crashing my life from day one. A couple of them probably had sex with my wife. Rick Henry most likely did. That's kind of the way they are, man. They go after the woman, have sex, probably had sex with Angie. Right? They did it in Santa Fe. Then they try to act, well, he's obsessed with us because he's still talking about it. Well, you shouldn't have hired all those other people, especially using government money. It's absolutely traceable, the whole entire thing. No, they teach them they can get away with murder. That's what they do. That's the indoctrination. Kill somebody and watch how you get rich off it. I mean, they're devils, man. Rich Snyder was right. They're devils. That's it. That's all there is to it. So I didn't know what was going on. Karen Shelton would tell Carruthers what he was going to do each day. Carruthers being the supervisor. That didn't make sense to me. Well, I knew she was a gay, had a gay tryst with the assistant chief. But, turns out she's CIA and deep state. Like, it didn't make sense to me. I was asleep. Nothing made sense. They were psychologically torturing me, have been torturing me for years. So Jim Spicer comes to my desk, and he's like, your coworker's just not courageous. And I'm thinking, what? What's that got to do with what's happening to me? I think I just walked off, man. I did. I just walked off, said, that's it. Game over. You go your way, I go mine. I mean, I walked off and only took $36,000 a year. It wasn't a huge retirement. It wasn't like I was, ripping off anybody. I mean, since then, it's gone up a little bit, but I mean, cost of living wise, it's not much more, really. I mean, it was actually, without them having ruined, like if they never would have ruined my afterlife, it was fair. I mean, Sergeant Major retirement after 20 years made sense to me. I've been in military and government 20 years or so. And that's pretty much what the Sergeant Major makes in retirement at that level, at that much money. Right. After 20 years. Made sense. Fair and square. May you start sending people after my life? I go to a religious community and they're already prepared for some ruse. And there's psychos in these places. As soon as they contact them, now I'm the down man, then they're like, okay, we do this guy because we're going to have fun doing him. All I was looking for is friends and a woman to marry, man, and a religious society to live in. That's it. And you think God is going to put his blessing on what you did to me? And in fact, they try to say it's God while they know they're doing it. Isn't that sick? What did I tell you about them? They say they're God. Boy, I'm glad Trump's president again. I feel like I can say anything. I mean, what the hell did Trump think he was doing to begin with, not protecting me? Did he know I existed? Or did they hide me and just give him my information? A good question, Mark. I mean, protecting means like I get protection that everybody else in the community gets. You want to commit a felony against me, then you get charged for a felony. That's simple. It's no big rocket science. It's not me getting myself in trouble, Rick Henry, Karen Shelton. It's simple protection that society, that civilization has designed for each and every member of the community, called law and order. No, you don't have to earn it, but if somebody would have earned it, it would have been me. Enough of the reversal. What's that guy's name? I forget his name. All right, Border Patrol appointee. Texas, and I'm even more cautious than he is. But again, when we start dealing with federal judges, which we're going to have to deal with federal judges, we don't want anything to detract from what we're doing. We want it to look clean. Is there an issue with military hands-on operation? No. And again, if you do military hands-on operation, I would suggest military police officers. Somebody has had some training, which there's plenty, believe me. Now, I understand one of the drawbacks is that some of these military police officers, sheriffs, they have a day job, and there's again, if we have a National Guard conscientious objector, it could even be that there's just law enforcement and that they feel like that could hinder their law enforcement career. I don't know. You might want to give an opt out. So what do you do then? National Guard states they're going to send people. You ask for volunteers. So if you're going to do hands-on, well, if you end up with a federal judge in the mix and he finds out we have military people and there's some complaint about some rough housing by the military member, it's a lot harder. It's much more difficult to argue that in a courtroom, or at least some judges won't be offended by it. So if you have somebody that's military police trained, that would be the best scenario because judge, this gal is trained in how and when to apply force. Now you have National Guard and you can train them that, and they've trained somewhat in that. It's still that the average member it doesn't rise to the level of training that we usually require for that type of interaction. Right? But a military police officer, you would have that interaction. Now, the best case scenario is that they're just the drivers, the aviation people. You could actually, I don't know what your databases look like and what your rules are and all that. But you could actually just throw military people in running all your databases. Collecting, asking the questions and all that, whatever they call that, interviewing and collecting identifiers and that kind of thing. Again, that gets tricky too because sometimes you want a law enforcement officer using interview techniques. So it's just if there's a hands-on, because I brought this up when there was what they were doing is they were coming over and they were on U.S. soil, and they were pushing them back off of U.S. soil. I think the judge could have a question with that. Well, I think the way the laws are structured, we have to at that point, if we can put our hands on them, then we have to in-process them. I think that's the law. I'm not sure. I think that's the differentiation. So if you can keep them on the other side of the barrier, then you don't have your hands on them. But if you have to put your hands on them to push them on the other side of the barrier, then you're required to pull them on this side of the barrier and then process them. That's why I had problems with the guy with the whip. I mean, we don't want to get into that. Well, because you go in front of a judge, and the judge, judge will tank your case if he gets mad or if she gets mad. Right. Well, that's a consideration that has to be there. You have to consider that the judges are going to be deluged with cases. Some might be friendly, some might not be friendly. But again, there's a, I wouldn't say a feel. There's a, I wouldn't say background to the case either, but there's events that surround the case, and the more professional and the more correct, even if it's a pain in the derriere to do something. If we're correct, then they can't. If we're correct on something small, and if you're incorrect on everything, then you're incorrect. But if you're correct, even if we make a mistake, if we have enough percentage of correctness, and again, it's not political correctness, it's really lawful correctness, legal correctness, operational correctness, then it's easier to bring the case and get the case past the judge. Because you look professional. If you look at a mob of people just attacking immigrants because you hate immigrants, the judge could turn on you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with using military people, using military people down there. But again, if we can do it the other way, it's still better. Again, when you're federal, you have a much larger entity. Well, National Guard can do a ton of things. I mean, early warning systems, and you could still have hands on too. It's just it's been a long time ago, but that Marine reservist that shot the sheep herder kid or something. Again, I'm still kind of looking at that, the Murphy's Law aspect of it. Well, what I would do is New York, I don't understand, because he says he can't help us, but then they said they can help us if we're arresting criminals. I think that was the plan, right? At least for the first phase. So I'm not understanding where that. It sounds scammy to me. Like somebody put the pressure on them. They might be blackmailed. The mayor might be extorted. It doesn't make sense because he articulates it. Well, we can't, or somebody, maybe he didn't articulate. Maybe it was someone else, like a spokesman or something. They articulated we can only help when it's a criminal, but I thought that was the agreement, wasn't it? The initial agreement that we want to arrest criminals. Right. Not to say that that's all you're going to do, but again, that was the initial phase I understood, which means that NYPD can still help us. I'm not getting this other. There's a question coming up, and I can't figure out. The zone? Well, okay, right. So it's kind of like it's a strategic plan. You break the border down into zones, and within each zone you have differing levels. You have the state, federal, state, and local entities, and the National Guard, and all that operating in those zones. So everybody has a zone. You can cross over to the other zone if you need to, but again, only adjacent zones. Because what we don't want to, what we're trying to fight, bunching up and being moved in a direction where we create a hole where they can come across the border while we're responding to something. So we have to maintain security within the zones, and we have to maintain a window of response. So whatever we decide is going to be the window of response, we have to have enough personnel within that zone in certain location, in each location. So again, it includes sheriffs, whoever's going to help us. I don't know what the border looks like as far as sheriff's deputies and all these people, but they're on. It's just kind of like a big, the big war map. So we have these zones, and we have helicopters assigned to zones. That's pretty much. And then we have each zone. We have zones in depth, right? And zones left to right. Well, what we don't want to do is we don't want to take. I mean, again, we're going to have to. You can't patrol 100% of the border, at least at this point, unless we do get like a couple divisions. Maybe we'll be able to do something. But we want to maintain, because it's simple. That whatever we're going to do, it's simple to defeat to a certain degree. I don't know what that degree is. Well, because you just go where we're not. So we have to maintain a presence where we are. We can't allow them to steer us away from where we are. So when we provide zone protection, we ensure a minimum level of manpower, woman power, in between woman manpower. What are they called? Pansexual power in each zone. All right. So then we start from that, and then we have our strike teams that are riding the helicopters. Now, one of the issues is, and again, this is why I said we need to go heavy request on transportation, military transportation, and we need to get, maybe even some amphibious vehicles, but we need to get 6-wheel drive vehicles if we can, and then they have these things that you put the cargo seats in and the bows for the top. So what we need to build, and I guess it would probably easier for the National Guard to have, I don't know, National Guard Texas type operation where I guess they were constructing the fences. But what you're going to do is you're going to construct something like that goes down into those cargo loop or cargo seat. There's something where you can put it's like just a band of metal. So you have to construct a fenced in area that you can mount into that, and then you put like a lock across it so they can't lift it out, or a bar, and then you lock the bar. And essentially you're creating a transportation vehicle that's a 6x6. So, because the issue is this, just because you can move people by helicopter doesn't mean that it's feasible to extract the detainees from that place. Again, I suggested Chinook, the larger helicopters, but the argument became, well, could that be dangerous? Could it be too dangerous? Are we trying to do too much, and then we could end up with a downed helicopter and 30 dead immigrants? So again, that came up as, so the answer where my mind went was, again, it's like a think tank type of thing. My mind went to the answer that said, well, then we need 6x6. Right. So the strike team can pull out as soon as the 6x6 arrives with the processing team. Right. Was like a chitty chitty bang bang, that dude that drove around and put the kids in the back. We were like that. It was like an evil dude. I was like so afraid of that scene. Maybe so scared as a kid. The guy from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is what it goes. So again, you actually have like a jail vehicle kind of. And what you want to do is you want to leave like 3 feet in the back for an officer to sit in there. There are extended 6x6s, but I don't know if we're going to be able to get them. And if we do get them, I don't know if they'll handle as well as the shorter 6x6. You have to ask people. Again, there's transportation units in the military. They can drive anything. Right. So we have people that are drivers, National Guard drivers. We request a bunch of drivers, and then we decide what vehicles they're going to drive based upon mission requirements. Again, buses. Again, they would need to be modified. I know now the Border Patrol and everybody in immigration has all their stuff too. But I think where we lack is 6x6 transportation vehicles that would provide for an in-custody type of transportation. Again, it's not for anything other than get them out of the boonies. Right. And then the question is, what are we going to, is it valid to do that? You have to go through the process and see if it's too much. And I don't think it will be, because I think if we're speaking about patrolling the border at that level, we're going to have to access remote areas. The idea was that helicopter evac of just general immigrants might be a little too risky. And again, maybe you want to take that risk. I don't know. Right. So we have a processing and detention team that travels in 6x6 vehicles or something like that have a cargo area in the back that's secure. So again, you'll have to come up with seating that's safe, right, and strap them in or something like that. Again, and don't abuse it. Tell the drivers to take it easy. That's another thing. Always just remember the safety briefings. If we're in a 6x6 terrain and we have a bunch of detainees in the back, just take it easy. Right. We'll get out of there and get out of there alive. It's better than getting out of there dead, or not getting out of there dead, or having somebody injured, have it roll. Well, again, the initial phases, it may not be that yet, but eventually they'll develop. You know how it works. Again, it happens in every prison, happens in on all of our borders. They're going to develop a plan to thwart what we're doing, and it's not hard because the border is so big. Right. So initially, there may not be something like that. They may still just walk up to the border at a certain point, and we detain them, and then they're processed. But at a certain point, especially if we start, finding more narcotics and things like that, they may go more remote. Right, and then the other thing is, I brought that up with Texas, with the boats. So in some of these cases, evacuation via, or detention evacuation, I don't know what you call it, via boat may be more feasible. So if we have fences like they have in Texas in those locations, you're going to stop them at the fence. Now, you might want to leave them there. I don't know, or you could bring a boat in and just. Well, if the system is developed for like I got mad at them, and when they were using immigrants in Santa Fe, New Mexico to work against me. I said, if they're going to be that, then they can be detained. They can be deported right away. They can just be turned around right at the border and get out of here. So if we can develop that system, it would be more feasible to actually detain them and then get them off our fence. But if you have to keep them for 7 years, then it doesn't make sense. Because I believe, I may be wrong, but once you lay hands on, then you have to detain them. So if we design the system where they go through a quick, my system was to put immigration judges on the border. They come across the border, they see an immigration judge, then we put them across the border because the judge says no. Well, the idea is, we're never going to get rid of immigrants, and I'm not somebody that preaches that, and I do care for DACA people, but I said if they're going to be DACA, they're going to tell us what happened, who brought them here, what they remember along the way. They're going to give us some intelligence. There's going to be a statement of facts of how this all happened. How did they end up here? Right. So that's my thing for DACA, because essentially their parents committed a crime. Right. It's child abuse. Right. Or whoever brought them here. It's child abuse. That's really the claim, that they were abused as children and brought here. They were forced to violate law. Again, I'm not the bad man. What's a bad man is when we have these missing kids, that we have kids that can't be fed. We have a mother that kills herself because we can't take care of her while she's here. And then her kids don't have a mother. I mean, it makes me sick, because I know I would have married that woman and lived the rest of my life with her, helping her take care of her kids. But I was blocked from ever being with a woman. And meanwhile, she kills herself in a shelter in New York when all she had to do was meet me, get married, and have a fun life. I'm real. I get sick of what you all do, but I'm still here to help because I'm trying to help each community that deserves the help.
Thank you, Lord.
So again, the numbers we have, we can't help. And we have to reduce those numbers. And once we reduce them a certain level, I don't know how active I'll be if you're causing inflation because you're deporting people that do work. I don't know if I'm into that. You want to buy a tomato, it's like $50 for a salad, $10 for the tomato. I do appreciate that I had cheap salad because of immigrants. Believe me, I used to eat salads all the time. So again, I'm not in this to harm an immigrant. I'm here to fix something that's broke. And I want the kids to be found. I want us to give people that are in bondage opportunity to stay here. I want them to have something for their suffering. We need to run a professional law enforcement entity, and we have a mission. And the mission isn't just to get rid of immigrants; it's to find out what's happening. Where are all these people? Where are these kids? I don't care if somebody's 22 years old, a woman, and she's in bondage, sexual bondage. I want to give her an opportunity to stay here. I mean, she can help us. We can help her. If it's a boy, if it's a man, same thing.
Thank you, Larry.
No, I'm resolute that I do not want one single immigrant committing suicide because we can't take care of them while they're here. I want the numbers low enough so we can do it. And again, it's not going to cost that much. Just look at Elon will find the fraud, waste, and abuse, and he'll figure out how to do it cost effectively. In fact, he can work at Tesla. Actually, like I said years ago, I spoke to somebody. I called him MI5 recently. And we had a discussion. And he told me, and I don't know how he got on the discussion of Mexican employees. But he worked for a company that was MI5 undercover, and they had factories in Mexico. And he said to me, he said, "You're not going to find better employees." And this is before the cartels, there's probably a little bit, but not a lot. And he said to me, he said, "You're not going to find better employees than the employees in Mexico." Maybe this is so like we could have a point of reference as to what happened to Mexico. I guess it was like 2003 or something, somewhere around there. And he said to me, he said, "You're not going to find better employees in this world than Mexicans." He says, we open a factory down. This is a sadness. And this is 2003. He says, you open a factory down there. They come impeccably dressed. The work area is impeccably clean. They come on, before time. They're there a half hour early. This was Mexico, 2003. Foreign factories being put into Mexico. So again, it's possible. These were some, and I think it was Mexico. He said, I don't know if he said Central America. I think he said Mexico. This is who they were before the mess. You say you're not going to find a better employee in the world. And then they had global factories. So again, for point of reference as to what has happened. And if you remember, that's when the cars were starting to be made in Mexico and everything. Right. Everybody shifted, and then it was destroyed by narcotics and cartel.
Thank you, friend.
So again, I'm not here to destroy the immigrant, but I'm here to make it safe for all involved, including the immigrant. But we're going to need to move. We're going to need people movers. I looked at the Hemet. I guess the 8x8 was. Is that what that is? I don't remember what that is. There's bigger ones. I thought they may have been a little too big for what we wanted to do. And again, getting people into the back of that's very difficult. But I just that's the other thing is getting people up into it. But I was able to come up with a kind of a thought with vision, and I came up that you could do a cost-effective, very stowable set of stairs. So all you do is you have somebody in the back of the vehicle, and it has to be built like a stairs, right? And you have somebody in the ground, and you help them up into it. If I don't think they need help if we build it right. Collapsible set of stairs. That's if you want to do it. I mean, I'm not sure what you're all doing, but one of the quandaries came up is how to get people from remote areas out of the remote area without using helicopters. But again, if you're willing to use like a Chinook, a C-17 or one of the other ones, then use that. That's the quickest way to get them out of there. But again, before you do any operations that involve people being in, whether it's a ground vehicle, a waterborne vehicle, or an air vehicle, you have to go through a series of process. We don't just drive there and start driving there. We don't just go there and start flying there. There's a train up for it. So you have to you got to do you got to do extra PMCS. You got to do it in process to the process. You do your initial PMCS type checks. Again, I don't know what level they want to do. They probably want to do it at a little higher level when they get into theater, I guess, per se. Then you do your then you do go through a series of training operations on the terrain. So you go familiarization with the terrain. Then you whether it be aviation, water, or ground, and then you want to do another PMCS. I think that's it. But the pilots have to fly different missions, daytime and night, in theater before we ever put other people in those helicopters. And the helicopter has to be tested. It has to go through a series of tests. There's a PMCS test for something like that. And they stress it a little bit, see how it handles, and then they do another PM, like an out or a finished final PMCS. You just have to. That's one the risks. The risks decrease when you do things like that. In the military, most of the people when we had issues, it was kind of like, there was really no train up. You go to the desert and you're driving and somebody's dead within a day. Usually they drive off a cliff or something. So we have to get with that stuff. And then once you deem it safe, again, even if you have an issue, you said, well, look, we did everything we could to make it safe. So if there's an accident or something, you say, well, we did everything we could. Right. And it usually pays off. Usually if you look back at issues, helicopter accidents, there's something we missed. I mean, it isn't necessarily the quote unquote reason why there was a tragedy or something, but you'll find that there's a process, and once we stick to that process, we're luckier. Kind of a due diligence up. Right. I sound like Gant, don't I? I don't know what came first, Gant or I. I think it was me. I was playing Gant's head. Now, I was thinking heavy about the guys and gals over there. I'd sent more plans and everything to senators, I think. I can't remember back that far. I mean, it freaks me out to think how long ago all that was, and that you never lived my life all those years. It's just sick. It's just sick as hell. 100%. Like 2008. I woke up around 2008 going, what the hell, we're still there? 2007, 2008. I woke up. I was like, we're still there? What's going on? I'm not supposed to still be there. Like I said, I walked off, man. I wasn't doing nothing. I wasn't doing military. I wasn't doing government. I wasn't doing nothing. I just politics, all gone. I was just going to be a religious person, be with God. I was happy to be with God. I mean, I'd gotten far enough away from them where I could have my peace time and I could power up in my connection with God. I was just loving being with God, loving healing people. I mean, I didn't care if nobody knew what I was doing or thought I was weird because I wiggled my finger or something. I didn't care about none of that. As soon as God, I mean, God knows who I am. As soon as God told me about healing, I was floored. I'm like, this is it. We have arrived. I'm sure I've healed people, man. I'm sure I've healed. And again, CIA even knows I've healed people. They can't. The people in the CIA that aren't the jerks, they can't do anything or they'll kill them. They know I've healed even nations. I have healed nations. But of course, it's God. And I'm an eye of God. I'm one of the eyes of God. I'm one of the seven seers. I knew that early on. I may even know that before I was anything else. And God tripped me out. God told me how it would work. I mean, God gave foreshadowing when He woke me up that I really don't use that many people to run a thing. That's why in the Bible you see it. Like God picks Samson. That's why God is. If you hadn't destroyed me, I'd still look like Samson. Right? I mean, if they weren't allowed to commit crimes, they never would be able to do this. That's the bottom line.
Thank you, Larry.
No, I haven't lived my life at all. Just going through the motions of fighting them all day. That's really what it's been. And investigating them is part of fighting them. I can't even imagine how many people they put into it. Has to be like hundreds. And somebody says more. I mean, Saudis even owe me money. I've helped them. I've helped the Saudis. I actually know MBS inside. And one of the things we ended up getting to was the fact that because I never got where I was supposed to in life, they never had the information. So the question came up and I don't know how it came up. Maybe MBS is questioning himself and things that have happened and he's talking to God. I don't know. But the question with MBS came up. He says, well, am I culpable? Am I culpable for what's happened? Maybe I didn't make the right choice. And what came up is that if I was to be somewhere, or even just be in life with a larger projection where MBS could receive a thought from me at the right time and do something different, then he wouldn't be culpable. I just found it funny that he had curly hair. I got a kick out of that because you never see him without his headgear on. And he's got curly hair. So again, I don't know if he's had that discussion with God or with the spirits or with the angels or thought about it in his head. But apparently I never got where I was supposed to in life, and that's apparent to a certain degree, but it may have even been with the Saudis. Again, when I enter a country, I connect in. I mean, I was asleep, but I connected in. So I've been in Saudi Arabia, and I connected in. So I know for a fact I'm part of Saudi Arabia. But, where I am and how it all fits together, I can't tell you. Just the nature of who I am. Egypt, I'm part of Egypt. I'm part of Korea, that's obvious. I mean, in my life, I wanted to meet. I don't have a problem with Trump meeting these. There's one thing I couldn't get with when the Democrats were speaking, even as mad as I was. Trump can meet with. Again, the same questions came up with the North Koreans. How culpable are they if something caused a change in the world and they never received something they were supposed to receive in knowledge and thought? When I'm inside, I don't know what they're receiving. I say this. I say, look, you live your life. I live my life. I don't understand your life. You don't understand my life because we grew up different places. But it doesn't mean that we can't communicate. So I don't necessarily condemn what they're doing because I think I can't condemn you because I'm not you. I don't live that life that you lived. And I believe if you lived my life, you wouldn't be who you were, who you became. Again, I'm generally not condemning them. And I just explained to them that if they knew more of what I knew, that they would be different. But they can't understand that based upon what has happened on this planet. Like understand what that would be and how that would work, but just know that that exists. So the other day it came up with MBS. Now, am I culpable? Would I be culpable? And pretty much Hashem was in there. Hashem's like, no, because what the like your part, like you, if you had gotten to where you were supposed to get to, it doesn't mean I would have spoke directly to him, but he still would have received at a minimum, and maybe I would have spoke directly. I don't know. He would have received information that would have changed his outlook on life, and then he would have did it differently. So again, God's judgments are perfect. Right? He may have. Okay, so I'll tell you what came up. It came up. It was the death of the journalist. I don't remember his name. So the idea is this: somebody else. I received the actual end of the thing was not beyond reasonable. I guess preponderance of the thought was this, which means more than 50%. That somebody caused something to happen in this world that caused MBS not to do that. Now, I don't know if he's directly involved or not, or he had some way he could have stopped that, but he couldn't stop it because somebody changed something and that caused his life to change. And remember, I said, just let's get past it. I didn't have that information back then. It wasn't like I was saying, I just knew we were to get past it and just let it go and just try to get everybody to move forward of something like that. So something was blocked in MBS's life so that he couldn't get past that before it happened. No, I think he's a nice guy. I just wish, for me, because I'm a little older, I've been a spirit in people's minds. I've helped people grow up. I've raised people inside. I know that for a fact. So for me, my idea was, essentially, I wish I could have maybe influenced him more as a child so that he maybe would have had a different outlook when it came directly to that incident. Again, I'm not them. I don't live their life. I wasn't raised like them. I live a different life. Again, nobody can figure out how I live my life anyway because my family is way different, right? Which evidence of God in my life. I'm a sinner. Mostly I'm a sinner because they won't let me not be a sinner, if you know what that means. Again, they know what that means. They have a psychological operation to make you a sinner. They have a psychological operation to make you a saint, right? But again, Hashem gets them for making me a sinner. Better to make me a saint, believe me. And of course, the training brigade for the engineers at Fort Leonard were the saints and sinners. I think that's what's called. You have to stay away from my life. You got to stop disabling me. Thank you much. I mean, he did it in Naples. I mean, it's just disgusting. When you look back and know what could have been in my life and the successes that could have been there. They put their victim to sleep. That's what they're doing. Form of brainwashing. Again, Project Artichoke. Oh, I can teach them what to look for. Right. Well, I was trying to figure out how to articulate to Ratcliffe and Cash and Tulsi. Funny that her name's Tulsi. Huh? Tulsi's taken over intelligence. Well, if you know anything about Hare Krishna, that's really funny. If you know who Tulsi is in Vaishnavism. She's a plant. Tulsi's a plant. Right. Well, Project Artichoke would be it's colorless when you read it, but if we get some color into what is Project Artichoke and how would you effectuate it, again, the spies know. Right. That's what we're fighting. That's what I was fighting. That's what they're doing in my life. I've been under a Project Artichoke type of assassination for 30 years, probably. Again, that's part of who they are. They get off on that stuff. Also, in their victim. Oh, they're out of control. Been out of control. Wow, it's an hour and 26 minutes. I'll be back in a second.